Okay, so the next question. Do you think streaming changed you as a person?
Yes.
That was quick. Yes.
Yeah. No,
That face.
definitely.
It's like the glassy eyes of Cam.
It's true. It did. But I think it genuinely changed me for the better. Because as I said, like I started just like eating streams because I have anorexia nervosa. So it's really hard for me sometimes. Well, actually all the time. Even though I've gotten a lot better, it's gotten a lot easier. It's every time I sit down for a meal, it's still hard. But it's gotten a lot easier. I think with Twitch streaming, I started out at first, I was so sorry about being myself. I was so apologetic about being myself. I would turn on music that I wanted to put on. I would move around. I'd do things. And then when I felt like I didn't have anything more to offer, I would end the stream. It's like I'd rely on these bursts of energy that I had because I had a lot of anxiety while eating meals. And I feel like when I get more anxious, I get more like this. And I'm like, woo, okay, we need to get it out somehow. So we're just going to like punch. And then when that all went away, it was like, I have nothing more to offer. And then turn off the stream. But I feel like as time has gone on, I've realized, no, I can be like actually myself and not my anxious whatever self. My super hyper, super whatever. She still exists within me. I'm still funny without being like this all the time. I'm still funny. I can just like wait for it to come and not feel like I have to force it on. And I feel like that's transferred over into my real life. I've also started using like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm actually like the best person around. Like I'm the best person alive. Like it sounds really obnoxious and really egotistical and really whatever, but it's like I'm the best me that there is. So I know it's like I know I'm hot. I know I'm doing things. I know I'm a bad bitch who's gonna get this exactly. But like I didn't believe that for the longest time, and there's still some days when I don't believe that. Many days when I don't believe that actually. But when I say those things out loud, I say it on stream. I'm ridiculous. I whatever. I'm like starting to. I went to work for the first time the other day because I also work as a dancer. They had us go back. I have to wear a mask, which sucks. But I went back to work the other day, and it was the first time that I danced at work, and I didn't overthink it at all. I just went and I danced, and I was okay. And I was like, "Holy crap!" Twitch has literally changed me as a person, where I have confidence to be myself and not apologize for it, to dance how I want to dance, to do what I want to do, and not apologize for it. Like, if I fuck up, then obviously I apologize for it. But just for existing, I don't have to apologize for existing anymore. And that's because of Twitch. So, even if Twitch doesn't end up working out, even if one day I decide, I hate Twitch, get me off this platform. And, like, that's what it gave me. That's the gift that it gave me, was this gift of being confident enough to be myself on stream, even when there's no one around, that I could be myself. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. And that's it.
To start with that, I mean, just to answer it simply, like, yeah, it's. I think it's changed. It changes everybody, honestly, whether it's for good or for bad.
Right.
I don't know. Because I worked retail for like 6 years straight, working my way up the food chain and whatnot. And then like the pandemic hit, and I started streaming, and then I didn't have any interactions with people for the most part for like the longest time. So like it was sort of this weird jolting experience of going from like being like kind of social to like antisocial, but still like talking to people on the internet. And that was a really jarring thing. And I kind of like had to rewire my brain in a way after starting streaming to like to interact with people through a chat room. Like that was very different, because you couldn't just like walk away from something. You were just sitting there in front of a lens, and people could see every like thing you do. Like if you wanted to roll your eyes at someone, you can't just turn around and be like, "Oh my god, this bitch!" Like you can't do that. I mean, you could, but so it was a very interesting thing. And then when I started, you kind of deal with just you want to have viewers. You're just like, oh my god, I finally got a viewer, and they're like being mean to you, or whatever. And you're just like, okay, I'll kind of like entertain this, but skirt around it and whatnot, and kind of accept this like quote unquote bullying in a way because I want to hit affiliate and stuff. Like I'd love to have a viewer, and finally I have someone watching me.
Right.
So that was kind of degrading in a way because I'd have a lot of people in the beginning that would be like, you know, why are you playing this game again? Oh my God, you just played this week. What are you doing? Like, this game's so dumb. Why do you keep playing it? All these things. You're like, oh my God, you keep dying to this boss over and over. Why don't you just play another game? Like, you're clearly bad at it. Whatever. Would have that all the time, but I wouldn't like stick up for myself at all. I'd just be like, oh yeah, you're right, you know, and I just kind of accept it because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to lose any viewers or anything. And eventually, like, it was a very like jolting growing experience. I think finally just sticking up for myself and like banning someone and being like, okay, you know what, like sorry, like maybe in a few months or something like that, I'll forgive you or something like that. You can come back, but this is like very, very negative, and I don't want that on my channel right now because I am enjoying playing the game. But that was very hard to do because that was like before I even hit affiliate, so it was like, oh, there goes like an average viewer, you know, dropping now. But it was like it was a lot better for my mental health, and that kind of just grew and grew over time. I think it took me like 7 months or so to finally like grow a solid backbone-esque in a way on streaming and stand up for myself and be able to feel comfortable with a lot of different opinions on the internet, because that's one thing you get on when you're streaming or putting anything out on the internet, Twitter or whatever. You get a lot of different opinions, and you kind of have to grow a thick skin and be like, okay, well, you're allowed to have this opinion, and I'm allowed to have my opinion, and we can have an adult conversation about this, and no one has to be right. And then streaming taught me how to be better with that. It also taught me things that being a manager didn't teach me, because I used to be the manager that would like not want to talk to their employees when they did something wrong. I'd be like, oh God, like shit, I don't want to do this, and I do it in the worst way possible. And now I feel like if I went back to being a manager, I'd be like, hey, cut that shit out. You know, like it's complete 180. But I don't know. It's helped with being more open in terms of mental health talk too, like and just being honest with myself and my feelings. Seeing people be accepting of whether they're having a good day or a bad day, like God, there's so many things on there. Just increasing confidence, like self-confidence in a way, and not a vain way, but I guess in an emotional way, I guess. Like people holding you accountable to be healthy and whatnot. And God, there's just so much, honestly. I feel like I've definitely learned more about being a stronger person or whatnot since streaming than I had maybe like working retail or something like that, just chugging 5 cups of coffee in the morning, working 5 days a week, and then just living that sort of life just to pay bills, instead of being on the internet and just trying many different things. And it's honestly, it's like the craziest ride ever. Like I look at myself like a year ago, and I'm just like, I went back and looked at some of the VODs I downloaded. I was like, oh my God. Like, I am a completely different person online than when I was a year ago. Like, just so much more confident. Like, I don't apologize for things as much anymore. And every 10 minutes, I'd be like, sorry, was that too much? I'm sorry. You know? Now I'm just like, I don't care. Like, you don't like it? That's fine. Like, you don't have to like me. Like, that's okay. So, yeah. I don't know. So, in a short change way, yeah, it's definitely changed me. And a lot.
Right. Yeah.
Redeem, hydrate.
Right, exactly.
Right. So, like, I don't know that I've been streaming long enough for me to make any kind of assessment as to what kind of effect it may have had on my life or my personality. I suspect that it's not going to be that drastic because I'm already a performer. I'm used to being in front of people and having to interact with them in a way that is perhaps a little bit differently than how I would interact with them in person, in a sense. But I can talk a little bit about how, like, this sort of streaming community has had an effect. Which is, participating in streams, being part of like a group of people who does this, and being amongst the people who follow them and interacting in those communities. I don't know if it has changed me so much insofar as I don't know if it has necessarily changed who I am fundamentally as much as it has sort of brought me back to who I was and am. For some context on what I mean, for about the last 5 years, maybe a little bit longer, I've had a lot of difficulty with that, actually. Like, getting a grip on that person and trying to get them out from under it all. But and with all of that, like, tragic stuff that happened, there was a lot of social exile that came out of it, and so, like, my ties to a lot of community that I had before don't exist the same way they did before. I don't have as much power and influence and support. Of course, the real life humans that have stuck around, I'm very close to, and those connections are very strong, but I'm not a public figure now. I'm not somebody who's attending massive events and parties and things and having to interact with people and therefore having a personality. So being in live chats with people, having conversations with other people in this kind of this virtual social environment, which is full of like weird ass quirky people. And I've been very lucky to find the communities that aren't just a bunch of like dumbass kids. Communities I stumbled into on Twitch seem to be like not normal in terms of the kinds of inhabitants they have and the kinds of people operating them. And so I have felt comfortable interacting there and have really been, I feel like, largely embraced by like the people who make up those communities and the people who are like curating them. And so I've been able to I'm finding myself again because I'm interacting with people in that situation. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm having to like basically reintroduce myself to a world that I've never been in before. It's like walking into a place where I don't only know one or two people and they're introducing me to all their friends. And I'm having to be like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and that's been really good for me because it reminds me what I am and what I do. Which then has been pushing me to actually be and do those things. Now I'm thinking about, like, how do I get back to making music the way I want to? How do I get back to performing the way I want to? Because I've just told, like, 150 people this week that I'm a musician. Well, have I been? And so what Twitch and this environment has done for me is not so much change me into something else, but take me back to who it is I feel like I really am.
Okay. That was deep.
Oh fuck! I'm sorry. That's how I do it.
No, it was good, but it was deep. I'm glad you're feeling more like yourself now, and rediscovering yourself and everything.
Me too. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm a little bit annoyed with it. I get mad about it. Like, I was doing fine being a blob.
I'm happy that you're here and hanging out with us, though.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have realized that you're going back to who you actually are, I think that's kind of a beautiful thing. And I kind of relate to that very much so, because although I don't have the same experiences, I did have a time where I was very depressed. I got out of a really bad situation. I was dealing with a lot of personal issues. And I feel like Twitch has kind of, through the pandemic, has kind of gotten me back to being, who I was always meant to be or should be, if that even makes sense. Even though it's like different, because it actually has changed me, I feel, as a person. But it's like I feel like I should have been here, like in this place, my whole life, and I was holding myself back. So yeah, I kind of like that idea.
Does that, like, let me ask you this. I know I'm not the one conducting the interview here, but like, does that ever, like, do you ever feel yourself getting like kind of angry about that? Because it's like, I should have been here. You know what I mean? Right. Like, yes. Why the fuck is this just now happening? I've wasted so much time.
Yes, I definitely have those sort of outfits and things like that, where it's like, oh my freaking gosh, like I could have been like this bad bee the whole time, blah 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 blah. And then I understand, like, I was not in a place where I could be here. If I had tried to be in this place where I'm at now 6 months ago, it would have torn me apart. It would have, I feel like the growth that I made was gradual. I feel like I actually did make growth, that it wasn't like, even though I did feel like I regressed as a person and I could have been, it felt like I went like this and then I went like this. I feel like because I made that regression, I was learning how to get out of that regression, if that makes sense at all. So although like this is where I should have always been, this is like I should have been here the whole time. Yes, I should have. But I also went through a lot of crappy stuff that brought me down here. It's like I fell into a hole, and I'm expecting myself to just be at the top of the hole in like an instant, even though I fell into the hole. It's like I should be able to be here. Like I shouldn't have fell into the hole. Like I'm an idiot for falling into the hole. It's like, no. You didn't do that to yourself, honey. Like there was a lot of trauma that you went through, that you had to learn how to climb out of the hole. You had to like get a ladder, get a pole. I mean, not a pole, a rope. Have someone like drag you out of it.
Claw your way out.
Exactly. And it's not, in my opinion, I feel like the hole was too big to just jump over. Like there is nothing that I could do to change the fact that I fell into the hole. And the only thing that I can do is still climb up and be to the place where I was before, if that even makes sense.
Amazing. I completely agree, because people think like one day you'll just wake up and everything will be perfect, but no, it takes effort, and lots of people are not willing to put in that effort. They kind of get scared. And they see it's hard and it takes time, and they just like, it's also kind of being impatient because you just want it now, you want it instantly, but it doesn't go that way. Just and of course, it does make you angry, because maybe like Cece said, like at that point you weren't able to be at that point, but then you worked through it, and it kind of makes it feel better, like you worked for it, you went through all the kind of shit, but you made it there. So kind of like, I don't want to like say I'm angry with myself. You just kind of try to switch it. You're looking at it. You get proud about yourself. Like I'm happy I'm there now. Everything happens for a reason. That's we all grow. We all learn every day, and it just. I don't know. I'm bad at expressing myself.
No, you're doing good, Ina. No, it makes sense what you're saying, and I feel like I get that feeling of being mad at yourself. I get it. And I feel like that idea of changing your own narrative, even if it takes a really long time, that's like, also part of the growing thing. I used to be so mad at myself. It's like, I should be here. Why am I not here? And now that I'm finally sort of getting back to there, it's like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. I really, it wasn't that easy to just be there. In my head, it feels like it should be. It feels like it should be, but it's really not. It's like the little changes that I've made every day, and the fact that you feel yourself getting there, and it's like, I should have been here this whole time. I feel like with time, I've realized that there was no way I would have been there that whole time. Like, I feel like I was on the right path. That whole time, even the points when I was angry with myself. Your feelings are super valid. That's like the moral of the story, is that I get that. It sucks. And I've noticed as I've grown older, whatever, I've gone through a lot of therapy, a lot of things like that I really was making progress, even when I didn't realize it. Even when it felt like I should have been there the whole time. It's like, no, I was making little steps every day that, even if I didn't realize it, I was healing. And I was going through a process that will get me to a place where I am much happier.
Oh, I want to hug you all now.
Oh,
what Cece's doing, I'll hug myself and then imagine it's
group
you guys.
hug.
Indeed.
Okay, so moving on. Feels. Oh.
Jeez.
So
Right.
it's like playing Life is Strange all over. Whew, my feet.
Yes,
Oh, that game.
indeed.
So,
A lot.
yeah. What would be the hardest thing to deal with on stream once you go live?
Self-care.
Yeah.
I honestly self-care.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
there's a ebb and flow sort of that I feel, and it could just be my anxiety. Maybe it is. Where it's just like, okay, you step away for a minute, you know, you even go to the bathroom or something like that. People are like, well, I don't want to just sit here and watch a screen of, I don't know, whatever, I guess for my channel, like a dancing frog or whatever, while I'm playing music. Like some people don't like to do that. You can even see it in big channels with like 4,000 viewers. They pop up a Be Right Back screen. Like, I guess Man vs. Game, for example, is my most recent example. He went and took a break to actually cook food, and he has like a giant Be Right Back screen up that he plays, and it's like, it says it, and he's gone for like 10 minutes. But he'll have like 4,000 viewers, 2,000 viewers, whatever, and then, you know, after like 5 minutes or so, it'll drop down to like 1,300, 2,500, something like that, you know? And most of the time, like some people will come back. I sort of equate it now to, or at least trying to make myself more comfortable and equating it to a way that it's like watching TV. Your show that you're watching goes on commercial. You're like, okay, well, I'll switch over to HGTV and watch Property Brothers while they're not on commercial, and then I'll go back to watching Ina Garden or whatever on Cooking Channel once the commercials are done. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes people are like, okay, well, I was just checking out this channel. I don't want to wait 10 minutes anymore to come back. And that's fine. You just kind of have to accept that. But it's also in a way where it's just like dealing with like eating disorders or whatnot, you know, or even anxiety in a way. Stepping away for even like 2 minutes is like the scariest thing ever, you know, if you're like that concerned about it. And so my biggest thing on stream is always like not eating or not having food readily available that isn't just chips or a protein shake or like vegan jerky or something like that. So it'd be like, oh, well, I could go make a smoothie or like something healthy, a smoothie bowl. I could go like heat up some food real quick or whatever, like leftovers. But that would take more than 2 seconds, you know, and I don't want to be gone for longer than the length of a song that I play. So it's like that anxiety you kind of have to deal with. And I think that's the biggest thing that affects me when I go live is just like, okay, well, it's going to be 1 o'clock soon. And I hope I have the energy stored in my body to go for another like 3 hours because I don't want to step away for more than a protein shake, you know? And that's just something I have to work on personally, which hopefully, you know, soon if I, you know, can find someone with the right style to commission like an animated screen that is like, oh, you know, an overlay cam that replaces me with like a, I don't know, someone eating food or something like that. That says I'll be right back. I'm just eating food while playing. I don't know.
That'd be cute.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I like that. I think the hardest thing that I deal with when I go live is because I think when days when I can't turn the viewer count off because I have it on my phone and it doesn't, I've tried all the things. You can't turn it off on your phone when you have Stream Elements up on your phone. I think those are the hardest days because like sometimes when you see the viewer count and you say something and it goes down, you're like, what did I do? And like in the back of my head, I know I didn't do anything. Like, I know I didn't do anything. Like, I know that Twitch is just random. People have things to do. Like, I know me when I'm watching other people's Twitch streams, it's like, oh, I just have things to do. Like, if I use my logic brain, I know it's nothing that I did. It could be, but the chances of that is like very slim compared to like the chances that someone just went to go get food or someone started playing a game or someone was like, I'm done watching Twitch for the day, or someone was like literally a billion different reasons. But for some reason, when I have to have the follower count up on my phone, when I have to put it on my phone when I have like the big screen games, it's like it's right there. It's right there, and it's so overwhelming sometimes because I have so much anxiety. I feel like anxiety kind of controls my life, and I have a few other things that are kind of like underneath the anxiety bubble that I think developed as like specifically my depression and my eating disorder kind of developed under this curtain of anxiety that kind of has controlled my life for a very long time. And although it has gotten a lot better, there's still sometimes those days where it's like, meh! And like, I promise you, everybody, if you just keep the viewer count off, everything will be so much better, so much easier. Just like turn it off. But like those days when I have to use my phone, it sucks.
Yeah.
But like the days that I do have it off, I think probably the biggest issue is kind of similar to Parker. But recently I've noticed that I've had more people when I came back from the BRB screen. I don't know why. I think it's because people are like, what's going to happen? I don't know. I know that's not exactly what would happen if it was a bigger streamer, but like when I go to eat and then I'm back and I was like, there's more people here. But yeah, I think that's my biggest issue is when the viewer count on my phone and I can't turn it off. It gets in my head sometimes, but it really doesn't mean anything. Viewer count really is. It doesn't mean that people love you more or less. Or it just means that people have stuff to do. They have lives. They can't watch me every day for 3 to 5 hours a day. Like, people have lives. Like, CC, make sense of it. And it's like my anxiety brain sometimes is just like, you know?
Yeah. Like you said, it's as obvious as it is, like, and logical, it still can affect your mind. It still does to me, like, messes up my mind.
Right. Exactly. Which is why I just say turn it off whenever I can, because when it's good, when the viewer count is good, I feel like I have to be a certain way. When the viewer count is rougher, I feel like I have to be a certain way. When it's in between, I feel like, why would I let that control me from being me? So whenever I turn it off, I always feel so much better. Feels so much better. So highly recommend to if there's any new streamers out there that are struggling with seeing people, just I promise you, turning it off will feel so much better.
Best advice ever.
Yes, for real.
I would say that the things I struggle with after, hitting the start streaming button on OBS would be the threefold. 1, my own mentality and focus. 2, viewer count type stuff, and 3, technology. In terms of what's happening in my head, and I touched on this earlier a little bit, in that being able to sort of let go and let the music happen and really surrender myself to that is difficult when you're interfacing with this platform and having to keep an eye on the machinery and keep an eye on the chat, keep an eye on, and again, for me, viewer count is kind of what I have to indicate that I have an audience, which is important for my ability to play really well. And I really wish that I could focus more on the interaction than on the viewer count. But the thing is about being right now the kind of music I'm making, a lot of people like to just throw it on and go do something else. So they're not interacting in the chat. I would say that's probably true for most of the people who are listening at any given time at this point in time. Quite a few of the followers I have now have never said anything in chat. I don't know who they are, and it's fine to lurk or whatever. I don't want to put the pressure on anyone, but I have to end up sort of paying attention to the viewer count if I want to feel like there's anybody there, because most people aren't talking. They're probably aware of the fact that I can't talk to them in the same way that other streamers can, and that I cannot speak to them the entire time that I'm doing the thing that they're there to watch or listen to there. And so I notice instantly when, not instantly, but at the end of a song, I'll see a couple people left. And for me, a couple people is probably, a good percentage of whoever's in it at the time. Unless there's been a raid, which has consistently happened, I would say. It certainly isn't every day that I stream that happens. So then I'll be oh, well, fuck, apparently that song sucked. And that's kind of when you feel like you've bombed, keeping up the momentum and going on is difficult. So there's that, and there's also just keeping focused, minimizing the amount of time that there's dead air. Is because I'm using these right now. I've been doing a lot of playing over these jam tracks, different styles of music, to sort of take the pressure off of me having to compose in my head as I go along, so I get more used to this. I have to switch the track, and then if it's too loud or the balance is off when I start, I have to stop it and fix that and start again. And like that can be, I worry about that. Like, is that gonna make people be like, well, fuck this shit? They just want a continuous stream of content, and if I'm not tapping into their like dopamine vein every second, are they gonna leave? And that just can induce a lot of anxiety, and that kind of leads into the like technical issue thing. And then OBS like interrupts the stream, and I come back and there's like way less people waiting to see if I am going to reconnect. So like that kind of thing can be challenging. I never really know if my software is going to like function it optimally. Is my internet going to stay connected? All that stuff. I feel like those issues would be a little bit less prominent if I had nicer stuff. I can't remember what the third thing I said initially was, but it sucks too, whatever it is.
So we're going to Twitch community. Do you think people you met through Twitch like impacted your life? And has meeting those people taught you to be more open about mental health?
Yes.
Yes.